Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. Let's start our session. So in the previous session, like we were we were discussing about Nexus installation. Hope you have understood like how can we install Nexus. So suppose if we are to install the Nexus, like we have already seen like what are the prerequisites we need for Nexus installation and all. And we have two servers here. One is Jenkins server, the other one is Nexus server. In Jenkins server, Jenkins is installed and Jenkins is up and running. And you all know how to access Jenkins if it is installed here. Suppose if Jenkins is installed in any of the server, we will access with the help of public IP. And at the same time, public IP and the default port number. The default port number of Jenkins is 8080. So I'm trying to access Jenkins with the help of 8080. This is how the Jenkins dashboard looks like. At the same time, I have one more server here, which is running, which is already installed with Nexus. And to access the Nexus, copy the public IP and provide that in the search bar. And the default port number, what is the default port number of Nexus? 8081. I told you, like if we are not aware of what is the port number, what is the default port number of Nexus, definitely we can get the default port number of anything. Like you can search in the Google, what is the default port number of Nexus? The default port number of Nexus is 8081. Okay, so like this, we can know about the default port number of Jenkins, Nexus, all these things. So I'm trying to access Nexus with the help of the default port number. And even we have seen like how to sign in to the Nexus. So for the first time when you sign in, it will ask you to set up the password, and the default password path will be like it will also show the default password path. So once you go to the default password path, you will copy it and paste it, and later it will ask you to set up the new password. I have set up the new password as admin. Both username is admin, username and password. I set it as admin, and I'm trying to sign in. So I got signed in here. You see here, I got signed in, and I'm just going to the browse option. I'm just clicking on browse option. I see various types of repositories here in the Nexus. Maven Central, Maven Public, Maven Releases, Maven Snapshots. Okay, NuGet Group, NuGet Hosted. So there are various repositories, meaning like for Java project. So suppose if we are working with Java, so and if the build tool is Maven, usually these are the repositories will be useful for us, like Maven Central, Maven Public, Maven Releases. Each and every repository is having a specific purpose. Okay. Suppose whatever the artifacts that were being generated, those artifacts can be maintained here in both the repositories like Maven Releases or Maven Snapshots. If your artifact is in the form of snapshot, please store your artifact in the snapshot folder repository, Maven Snapshots repository. And if your artifact is in the form of a release, if your artifact is a release artifact, you can store it in your Maven Releases repository. So here we have two things, Maven Releases, the other one is Maven Snapshots. And we will understand like what is the use of Maven Central, Maven Public, all these things later, but these are the repositories where we can store our artifacts, Maven Releases, Maven Snapshots. And usually the dependencies, okay, people who will be working on the Java, they might understand like what are the dependencies. And I told you, right, if we go to the repository, we have taken an example repository of online bookstore. And if you go to that repository, in the repository, developer, along with the source code, he will also write the pom.xml file. Just click on the pom.xml to see what are the contents that will be useful, okay, for us. And you see here, there will be few things that we need to understand. In the pom.xml, developer will also mention while writing the source code, along with the source code, pom.xml is the one they write if it is a Maven project. Okay, if it is a Maven project. So the main things that we need to understand here is group ID, artifact ID, version, and the package, okay, the format, the version, the format that the artifact should be generated. So here developer is clearly mentioning that artifact should be generated in the form of var. That is called packaging. And version number, he is also specifying the version number 0.0.1 hyphen snapshot. If it is a snapshot, it will go and store into the Maven snapshots repository only. Group ID as well as artifact ID is online bookstore. So these are the things that will be specified by the developer along with the source code. He will write the entire file, but these are the things that we need to be aware of. Okay, I'll tell you like where we need to provide all these things in our Jenkins configuration, but make sure all these things we can find out in our pom.xml file. So let me go to the Jenkins dashboard. So now what the agenda for today topic is like, in today's session, like we are going to understand how can we push the artifacts into the nexus. How we are going to push the artifacts into the nexus, right? So let's see, now we know how to configure a Jenkins job. Suppose if I want to configure a Jenkins job, just go to the new job. I'm just giving the name of the job as sample. I'm selecting, for now, I'm selecting freestyle job. Click on OK. So that the sample freestyle job gets created. And inside the job, you see, I'm going to the dashboard, only the sample job is created. And we have not given any configuration inside the job. So to provide the configuration, just click on the job, click on configure option. You can provide the configuration now. We have already understood, like we need to provide the Git URL here. From where we'll get the Git URL, go to the repository. And here we will see the URL, copy the URL and provide the URL over here. Credentials. If it is a public repository, you don't need to provide the credentials. And if it is a private, we can add the credentials here. We can select the Jenkins credential provider. We can provide the username, password. We can save the details. We can add the details. And we can select the credentials here. Okay. So that's how we can select. But for now, since this is a public repository, I'm not focusing on the credentials part. And even we already had a discussion like how can we add the credentials for this. Okay, just click on add button, Jenkins credentials provider, provide the username as well as the password and add the details so that credentials will get stored. Okay, credentials will get stored, and whenever we add the repository URL here from the credentials section, we can select, okay, from here, from this drop down, we can select anyone from here. So that's how we can access the GitHub repository by providing the credential. This is fine, but what is the branch that we would like to build? Master branch. Anyhow, we already understood all these things. We just integrated the GitHub, okay? What we're doing, we just integrated the GitHub and we already know how to integrate GitHub with the Jenkins. So if I click on the save and apply, or if I build the job, okay, if I click on the save and if I build this job, what happens? This particular branch, master branch, will be cloned to the Jenkins server this particular source code will be cloned into the Jenkins server, and we can see that code in the workspace. As I told you, okay, I'm not giving anything. I'm just giving the repository URL and saving it. I'm going to build the job now so that we are already aware like what is the thing that we can see for this job and all. You can go to the build number, click on the build number. This is the output actually. It is cloned the repository and master branch particularly. And if you want to see the workspace, just click on the project. And if you want to see the workspace, you see here. For this job, we have a workspace. Just click on the workspace and I can see the entire files got cloned from the master branch. I have all these files. Okay, now one thing is done. We have integrated the GitHub, okay, for cloning the source code and all. If you want to add any more configuration, just click on the configure option. I want to build the source code. The next step is if the source code is available, the next step is like we need to build the source code. And since this is a Maven project, I'm going to use the Maven as a build tool. So to use Maven as a build tool, what I'll do is I will use Maven as I will use the Maven plugin here. So to add the Maven plugin, go to the build steps, add build step. Directly you will see the plugin over here. Okay, see, we are seeing this option here. Invoke top level Maven targets. We are seeing this option here because we have added the plugin was already installed here. That's the reason why we could able to see this. Since the plugin is installed, that's the reason why we could able to see this. The goal name is package. Okay, the goal name is package. Why? Because our aim is to generate an artifact. That's the reason why I'm going to build this source code with Maven tool. My goal is I need a package. That's the reason why I'm giving the package. I'm saving it. I'm going to build once again. Now you see earlier, it just cloned the source code. Now the build process is taking place. You can just click on the build number and see the cloned out. You see the console output, and you see it is downloading all the dependencies. The build is success. And if you want to see the artifact that is generated, go to the job, click on workspace. You will see the target folder here. Inside the target folder, you will see online bookstore.war. This is the package that is generated. Got it? This is the package. This is the artifact that is generated. Our aim is to store this artifact. Okay, this artifact will be here in the Jenkins workspace only for temporarily. Okay, so this will not be here permanently. This is just storing temporarily. Usually, whenever you run the new builds and all, the old builds used to discard actually. The old builds will be deleted. So that time the workspace will also be deleted. So no need to worry about keeping the artifacts. We have a manager, we have a repository, we have an artifact repository like Nexus. If an artifact is generated, it is our responsibility to protect all the generated artifacts, to store all the generated artifacts somewhere, someplace. Like the tools, like we are using a tools like Nexus, JBoss, all these things for storing the artifacts. So this is the artifact that is generated, and I would like to push this artifact to the Nexus now. How to push? I would like to push this artifact to the Nexus. Let me tell you how I'm going to push this artifact to the Nexus. That is the main agenda of this today's session. I'm going back to the job. Again, I'm using configure option. You can see here we have build steps. We have build steps, and I'm going to the build steps, and I'm going to add the build step. I would like to, I have seen, see, I'm having some option here like Nexus artifact uploader. Nexus artifact uploader. See, I can able to see this option here because I have added a plugin. I have added the plugin. How to add the plugin? You might already aware of how to add plugins here. Go to the dashboard. If you want to add any plugin, go to the dashboard, Jenkins dashboard, and click on Manage Jenkins. Under Manage Jenkins, you will see the plugins option. Just click on plugins. Go to available plugins. And I would like to push our artifact to the Nexus. So I'm just trying to search with the Nexus option. Okay, I'm not finding any artifact upload or something like that. But since I have already installed it, okay, I have already installed it. That's why it is not showing in my available plugins. You go to the installed plugins already. Go to the installed plugins. I'm seeing like Nexus artifact uploader. Can you see? The Nexus artifact uploader. Just click on the Nexus artifact uploader. This is the plugin, okay? So Jenkins provides, you can integrate many plugins. Plugin is nothing but a small kind of software, small piece of software. We are just adding this program to our existing Jenkins. That's what the plugin installation is. You see here, this Jenkins is already installed. This particular plugin is already installed. It is already integrated to my, it's already installed in my Jenkins. Okay. Can you see here? It's already installed. And if you want to uninstall it, just click on it. Are you want to uninstall Nexus? Yes, I would like to uninstall. I don't want to install this. I want to uninstall this plugin. So I have uninstalled this. And once you uninstall, you can see that in the available plugins. You can see that in the available plugins. Maybe it requires some time. When you search with Nexus keyword, Nexus artifact uploader, maybe it is not uninstalled properly. Let me check. Nexus artifact. You see here, uninstallation is pending. See, you can install the plugins or you can uninstall the plugins. If the plugin is already installed, if you don't want the plugin, you can uninstall it. If you want that plugin, you can directly go ahead and you can install it. It is up to us. If any plugin is necessary, if any plugin is required, you can install the plugin. If you don't want the plugin to be existing, if you don't want the plugin to be there, you can go ahead and you can uninstall it. So still, it is showing that the status of this plugin is showing like uninstallation is pending. You can refresh. You can refresh to see. You can refresh to see the status. I'm just giving still. So once that is uninstalled over there, then only we can able to see that plugin in the available plugins. Okay. Hope you understood. The plugin was already installed. The plugin name is uninstalled. The plugin name is Nexus Artifact Uploader. Okay. The plugin name is Nexus Artifact Uploader. And we could not able to see still it is showing like installation is pending. And you see here sometimes like the Ant plugin is also there. Okay. So how the Maven plugin, how we are discussing about Maven plugin and all. You see, I'm just showing you like Maven plugin, Ant plugin, something is like this. The install plugin, Ant plugin is already installed. If you don't want the Ant plugin, if you want to uninstall it, just click on it and uninstall it. And clearly it is showing like uninstall is pending. Uninstallation is taking place. Uninstallation is taking place. Okay, I'm just refreshing this one to see the exact status. For that, I am going to the instances, Jenkins instance, going to remove all these things and just trying to access the next one. So this is how, okay, I'm just going to the dashboard and see manage Jenkins plugins, install plugins. Okay. Now I'm just trying to see what is happening with the Nexus. Nexus is still installation. Okay. It is still still uninstallation is pending. There is some issue seems for the plugin or not. Okay. Anyhow, no problem. So you understood now. How can we install a plugin and how can we uninstall a plugin and all? If you want to install any particular plugin, go to the available plugins. Okay. Just to see like our Nexus plugin is coming here or not. Usually once that is uninstalled there, you can able to see the plugin over here. You can able to see the plugin here. Okay. That is not uninstalled yet. May restart server. So if you want to install any of the plugins, like this is the process we follow actually. Okay, this is the process actually we follow for installation. Consider like Blue Ocean is one plugin I would like to install. How to install a plugin? Select the plugin and click on install button so that the plugin will get installed. Once it is installed, if you want to restart the Jenkins, okay, just click on restart Jenkins once the installation is completed. You see, restart. I'm selecting restart Jenkins when the installation is complete and no jobs are not running. Still the installation is taking place. You see the pending option here, and still you can see the status here. Still the installation is taking place. Like that, to uninstall a particular plugin, maybe it will take some time. Okay, but you can see the status here for the installation. Still the installation process is pending, and you see here it is still we have the plugin installation is taking place, and the Jenkins is getting restarted. Please wait. It is showing like please wait while Jenkins is restarting. Okay. So like that, you can select the restart option. And sometimes, usually, if the plugin is not updated, then you need to go for restart option. Otherwise, you don't need to go for restart option every time. You don't need to go for restart option every time. Make sure you don't need to go for restart option every time. Whenever the plugin information is not updated properly, that time you can go ahead and you can see. Okay. Otherwise, no need to go for it. So go to the available plugins. I'm just going to the available plugins and see Nexus Artifact Uploader. You see the plugin is already, the plugin is listing. Okay. The plugin is listing here in the available plugin. Just select the plugin and click on install button. We need to install like this. Okay. Select the plugin and click on install button. See, now the plugin is not installed here. Earlier it was installed. I just uninstalled it. Once I uninstalled it, it is showing in the list of available plugins. We have two things here, available plugins and installed plugins. In the installed plugins, I am searching for Nexus. It is not there. I am going for available plugins and searching with Nexus Artifact Uploader. The plugin is already available here, but it is not installed. Not installed. If I want to install, I will select this button and I will just click on install so that the plugin will get installed. Okay, if this is not installed, you see here, I'm going to the job, I'm going to the dashboard, I'm going to the job. I would like to configure. I'm going to the configure option and I'm going to the build steps. Inside the build steps, I'm going to add a build step. And you see, when I'm just clicking on the build step, I'm not seeing any option related to the artifact uploader or Nexus artifact uploader. Can I see any option here related to the Nexus artifact uploader? No, now currently it is not showing. Currently, it is not showing any option related to the Nexus artifact uploader. If I want to see that option here, I need to install the plugin. Where I have to go? Go to the dashboard, manage Jenkins, manage plugins, available plugins, search with Nexus artifact uploader. Yes, it is there. Select it, click on install. That's it. So that the Nexus artifact uploader plugin will get installed. Once it is installed, then you can again go back to the dashboard, select the job. You can click on configure option, go to the build steps, add build step, and now you see this Nexus artifact upload is, yes, it is finding it. Now I can able to see this option here. I'm just adding the Nexus artifact uploader. When I am selecting Nexus artifact uploader, it is asking which Nexus version you have installed. You see, what is the Nexus version that I have installed? Where can I see? Where can I see? The Nexus version is 3.72 something. So Nexus 3. Nexus 2 is there, Nexus 3 is there. We are using Nexus latest version called Nexus 3. It is clearly asking which Nexus version you are using. I'm using Nexus 3. The protocol is HTTP only. Keep the protocol as HTTP. You need to provide the Nexus URL. Here, see, it is asking many fields, many information about the Nexus. To connect to the Nexus, if you want to store artifact, it is a one-time process that you need to configure all these details. You don't need to configure every time. You are setting up all these details one time. Whenever the build takes place, whenever you trigger the build, automatically the build will be triggered. The build process will take place. Artifact is generated. Artifact will be pushed to the Nexus automatically. We are automating all this entire process. Okay, building the source code, generating the artifact, pushing the artifact to the Nexus. We're automating this process. That's why Jenkins is called as an automation tool. Jenkins is called as an CI/CD tool, continuous integration and continuous delivery tool. Nexus 3 protocol is HTTP, Nexus URL. What is the Nexus URL? If you don't know about like what to be added here, you can click on the question mark and it will give you some like hints. It will show you some information to update this particular field. You need the Nexus URL with the port number. Yes, this is the Nexus URL with the port number. I'm just copying the Nexus URL. For now, my Nexus URL is the IP address :8080. I am using the same thing. Okay. And it is showing like URL must not start with HTTP. Yes, why? Because we have already provided the HTTP on the above field. That's the reason why only IP address : port number is enough. That's enough. No need to provide HTTP. Why? Because we have already mentioned the protocol name is HTTP here. Credentials, if you remember, while signing to the Nexus, while I was signing into the Nexus, like I have provided the credential as admin and admin. I would like to add the credentials. How to add the credentials? Just click on add button. Jenkins credentials provider. Username with password. And my password is like admin. My username is admin and my password is also. Coming down, I'm just going to keep the ID here as Nexus credentials. What is the ID that I'm providing? Look, these are the Nexus credentials. And in the description also, I'm providing as Nexus credentials. I'm just adding this one. That's it. My credentials were added here in the drop down. You need to find out the Nexus credentials. Just click on the Nexus credentials. Okay. So since I have added these Nexus credentials, I can able to find them, select them over here. And still we need to fill many more fields here. We need to fill out many more fields like group ID, version number, repository, all these things. As I told you, you will find all these things in the pom.xml file. Go to the repository, go to the pom.xml. Please go to the pom.xml file. And here in the pom.xml file, you will see many things like group ID, artifact ID, version number, package, all these things. Group ID is this one, online bookstore. I'll copy the group ID and paste it over there. This is the group ID. It is asking for the version number. It is asking for the version number. Version provided here is 0.0.1 snapshot. The same version I am providing here. Repository. What is the repository? Do you know the name of the repository is What is the yes, repository ID of the nexus to which the artifact, where the artifact is to be uploaded. You see here, I'm going to the nexus repository. Here we have many nexus repositories like Maven Central is there. Okay, when I'm clicking on the browse option, you see Maven Central, Maven Public, Maven Releases, Maven Snapshots. Many things are there. Many repositories are there. And I'm going to choose my repository as Maven Snapshots because there is a reason why I'm going to choose my folder. Okay, my repository name as Maven Snapshot because you see here, when I'm going here, what is the version that I'm going to store is snapshot. That's the reason why here also I will provide my repository name as Maven-snapshots. Maven snapshot is the repository I have selected. I'm giving the repository name as Maven snapshot. Why? Because in my pom.xml, the version is like 0.0.1 snapshot. That's the reason why I'm using version as snapshot, and the repository I would like to store as Maven in the Maven snapshot. So these details were done. Okay, I have provided the group ID, version number, repository, and still you see you need to fill more. You need to give some more information about the artifacts. We can add artifact ID. It is asking. Same artifact ID is also online bookstore. So where we are getting this information, entire information, I'm getting this entire information from the pom.xml only. What is the type of the artifact? The type of the artifact is var. How could I know? You see the packaging. Sorry, the packaging is var package. I would like to store the var package. I'm giving the var package. Leave about the classifier. Leave about the classifier. And you need to provide the file name. Okay, what is the file name? The file name is, you see, when I go to the file name is usually online bookstore.var. This is the file name. This is the file name that I would like to push to the Nexus. And you see here in the Nexus already, in the Maven snapshots, I have already pushed some artifact. I would like to delete this thing. I would like to delete the existing one. That's the reason why I'm going to, I'm just keeping, I'm clicking on delete. Yes. The folder is now being deleted. I'll just refresh it to show you whether we have any folders. Click on browse, go to the Maven snapshots. You see here, I have just logged in with an user called admin. I'm going to the browse option. I have many repositories. I'm going to the Maven snapshots. Earlier, some files were there, but I don't have any components or assets in this repository. I would like to show you, like, there is an empty repository for now. I don't have any components or assets found in the repository. Okay. So now I'm going to the Jenkins. I'd like to show you. I'm just saving this file. Before I save the file, I need to make sure where this online bookstore.var file is present. Okay, I'm saving these details, but I would like to know in the workspace where this online bookstore.var file directly it is not present in the workspace. This is the workspace. Okay, this is the workspace. So if we provide online bookstore.var, it will directly search in the workspace if the file is not present in the workspace. If the file is not present in the workspace, okay, it will throw some error. Let me show you. I'm going to click on sample build. Okay, click on build so that you'll understand the error that we are going to get. Yes, I will show you that it is downloading the project. Build is success. Online bookstore.var file does not exist. So where it is searching for this artifact, I have just provided in the configuration. You see in the sample job, go to the configure. In the configuration, I have just provided the information is like, what is the file name? File name is online bookstore.var. It is not there in the workspace. It is searching in the workspace. In the workspace directly, it is not there. But in the workspace, it is available inside the target folder. Just click on the target folder. You will see online bookstore.var file. You will see online bookstore.var file. Got it? So I would like to store this online bookstore.var into the, see, this is present inside the target folder of the workspace. So now what I need to do is I'm going to the sample configuration. Here I will specify the path, the file name as the fold. It is present inside the folder called target. Okay. Target folder is there in the workspace. Inside the target folder, we have online bookstore.var. I'm saving this. I'm going to click on build so that we will see the output now. I'm going to see the output now for this. Yes, our build is success. You see the build is success. And you can also see here all the details. These are all the details that we have provided. Group ID, artifact ID, version, file name, all these things. The repository we have provided is Maven snapshots. And uploading artifact is completed. It is done. Artifact is uploaded. Where can we see the output? Go to the Nexus. Earlier, I don't have anything in the Maven snapshot. Just click on the Maven snapshots. Now it is online bookstore. You can see in the online bookstore, there is a folder created. Inside the folder, we can able to see the jar file. Yes, this is the snapshot that we have. This is the folder. This is the jar file this is the war file that I would like to push. When it happened, you see, today only on October 1st, 1510 means just now. You can see the date and time, right? When did this blob created? When this storage was done? When it got stored? The file size is 5.3 MB and it got stored on October 1st, 2024, 1510. This is how we are going to, okay, this is how we are going to push the artifacts into our Nexus repository. Okay, this is how we are going to push our artifacts inside the Nexus repository. Okay, now let me go back and show you. So now, fine, I have pushed, I just now pushed an artifact called onlinebookstore.war. Similarly, sometimes we should also require to store some jar files. Some other kind of files also we can store in the Nexus. You see in the workspace, I'm going to the sample project in the workspace. I could see something like the target folder dependency. Inside the target folder, I have dependency. Inside that dependency, I have a file called webrunner.jar. I also wanted to store this webrunner.jar inside my Nexus repository. How to store it now? Click on, see, I need this name first of all, webapp-runner.jar, webapp-runner.jar, and it is present inside the target folder / dependency. Inside dependency, I have the file, okay? Click on configure option, go to the build steps. Here, what I would need to do is, I'm going to specify in the target folder, the dependency folder, I have web app runner, have a file called web app runner dot jar file. If you want, you can clarify once again. You can see once again where this file is there. Web app runner dot jar target. In the target folder, we have a dependency folder again. Inside the dependency folder, we have web app runner dot jar. I'm saving the details. I'm saving the details. I'm going ahead and trying to build the project. I'm just clicking on build now. Once I click on build now, I can able to see the project that is running. You see the build number 5. I can able to see that this artifact uploaded web app runner.jar is completed. You see, where can we find out this one? Go to the browse option. Refresh it. Can able to see. Okay. Line bookstore is. Okay, this is the second time that it has done. Let me see. Yes, this is the file that has var file that has uploaded. And I have also seen that web app. We see here web app runner.jar is also completed. We need to find out. Go to the browse option. Need to see where this web app runner. Okay. Maybe the same thing, I think. Okay, the whatever this online bookstore artifact, okay, which is provided here, the same thing only. Maybe that is on web app runner also. That's the reason why the same artifact is being uploaded here. Fine. So hope you understood. Like you understood. You see here what are the things that we have uploaded so far. You can go to the browse option. Okay, and here we have some repositories like Maven releases, Maven snapshots, all these things. We have provided. Let me show you. Click on job, configure option. Here it is provided the name as Maven snapshots. We can provide the file name as Maven releases. I'm just providing the name as Maven releases. Just click on it. I'm going to build it to show you exactly like the location. I'm just changing the location. Okay, I'm just changing the location. Earlier we were storing in the Maven snapshots. Now I would like to store the file inside. Okay, I would like to store the file artifact inside this one. You see here it is asking like we are not able to deploy the artifacts because the artifact that you are storing is in the form of a snapshot. Okay, the artifact that you are referring is in the form of snapshot. If it is in the form of snapshot, you cannot push that into the Maven releases or any of the folder. Okay, if it is in the form of snapshot, you cannot push that into the form of any of the other repositories except Maven snapshots. I just wanted to make you understand like why I am using Maven snapshots folder only. If your artifact is in the form of snapshot, definitely you have to push that into the snapshot only, Maven snapshots folder only. You have many folders here. Try to understand. Go to the browse option. You have many folders. I am trying to explain like why we are providing only Maven snapshots there. And even if I provide Maven releases, it is providing an error saying that you are providing the artifact in the form of snapshot, but you are trying to store it in the Maven releases. That is not at all possible. It will not allow the snapshots into the Maven releases folder. That's what it is saying. Right? So hope you understood like what we have done today. What we have done today, we just generated an artifact and pushed that artifact to the nexus with the help of freestyle job, with the help of a freestyle job. The help of freestyle job, we pushed that artifact into the nexus. So what is our next step? Actually, what is our next step? We need to, so once an artifact is generated, I have explained you many times. Let me show you. Okay, again, I would like to explain you. Usually, if the source code is available in the GitHub, we are going to build that source code with the help of a Maven tool. And today, directly, we are not using Maven. Okay, Maven is installed inside the Jenkins. We are using the build tool as Maven only, but we are integrating that Maven with Jenkins. We are installing Maven inside the Jenkins server. And we are using a command called package command. We are simply giving a package command. With the help of Maven tool, we were able to generate an artifact. Okay, we were able to generate an artifact. So what it is doing, Jenkins, it is cloning the source code into the Jenkins server. And Maven tool, it is trying to build the source code. Okay, Jenkins is cloning the source code and it is applying the Maven tool on it. Maven will build the source code. And finally, what it is generating is it is generating a output. It is generating output in the form of package, which is called as an artifact. What is the output that it is generating? It is generating an output called artifact. It's generating a file called artifact. So once an artifact is generated, that artifact is in the form of like, in our example, that artifact is in the form of online bookstore.var. This is an artifact that is generated. Once this is artifact is generated, usually the earlier approach is we used to deploy this artifact into some servers. We used to deploy this artifact into some servers where Tomcat is installed, or similar kind of things are JBoss. Okay, JBoss is installed, something like that. consider earlier we used to deploy this artifact into the servers where the Tomcat is installed. But now the scenario it is completely changed, right? We are not going to deploy anything into the servers like Tomcat. So our aim is to deploy everything into the Kubernetes. Our aim is to deploy everything into the Kubernetes. If you are running any microservice, consider this is one microservice. Online bookstore is one microservice. I would like to deploy this artifact. I would like to deploy this application into the Kubernetes. Okay, consider this is our Kubernetes. So if I want to deploy this application into the Kubernetes, what I need to do is I need to convert this artifact into Docker image. I need to convert this artifact into Docker image. I need to convert this artifact into the Docker image. Once the Docker image is ready, I will push this Docker image into the Kubernetes. Okay, I'm going to deploy this Docker image into the Kubernetes. Suppose if you want to deploy an application to the Kubernetes, what actually you require is you require anything in the form of Docker image only. If it is in the form of Docker image, yes, you can able to deploy any application inside Kubernetes. If anything is not in the form of Docker image, suppose the output that is generating is in the form of online bookstore.var var package, it's an artifact. This is not a Docker image, this is an artifact. Directly, we cannot take this artifact and we cannot deploy this into the Kubernetes. First of all, we need to convert this artifact into the Docker image. To deploy this into the Kubernetes, our aim is to convert this artifact into the Docker image, and the Docker image that is generated will be pushed into with the help of this Docker image, we are going to deploy our application into the Kubernetes. Okay, remember one thing, if you want to deploy your application to the Kubernetes, definitely you should have a Docker image. Without Docker image, you cannot deploy your application into the Kubernetes. This is the actual flow that we follow. And you know what? The reason why we are learning Kubernetes and Docker, yes, the upcoming tools are Docker and Kubernetes only. Why? Because we understood like how to generate an artifact. Once we generated the artifact, our aim is to convert this artifact into Docker image. How we are going to convert this artifact into Docker image? Yes, we need to write a Docker file. We need to write a Docker file. Then only we can convert this artifact into Docker image. Once the Docker image is ready, we will deploy the application into the Kubernetes. This is the approach that we are following. We will discuss the rest of the tools later. Like Terraform is there for specific purpose, for a different purpose. Ansible is there, okay, for a different purpose. There are other tools also we'll discuss, but this is the approach that we follow. Okay, let's continue the next session. So today we have understood like how we are pushing the artifacts into the Nexus from the Jenkins job. Okay. Thank you. Let's meet tomorrow for the next session.